If your kitchen looks clean, but still doesn't feel expensive, this is exactly why. Because two kitchens can have the exact same layout, the same cabinets, even similar appliances, and one feels flat, while the other feels like a designer space. And here's the part most people miss. It's not the renovation, it's not the budget. It's a handful of small decisions that completely change how the space feels. Most people never notice them, but by the end of the video, you'll start noticing them everywhere. Let's start with something most people underestimate: lighting. Most kitchens rely almost entirely on overhead lighting, and the problem is it creates shadows. It hits from one direction, flattens everything, and makes the space feel harsher than it needs to be. Even when everything is clean, it still feels slightly off. But the moment you add lighting underneath your cabinets, everything changes. The countertops start to glow instead of just reflect. The shadows soften. The space feels layered instead of flat. And here's what's interesting. It doesn't look dramatic, but it feels completely different. And once you experience that, standard lighting starts to feel incomplete. Now, this next shift is where things get subtle, because it has nothing to do with how your kitchen looks. It's about how it feels to use. Most people are using tools that are just good enough until you try something better. A real chef's knife completely changes the experience. You're not forcing your way through ingredients anymore. You're gliding them through. Everything feels smoother, more controlled, almost effortless. And that changes your entire interaction with the space. But here's the part almost no one thinks about: cutlery. Weight matters more than people realize. Light utensils feel temporary, almost disposable. But the heavier ones feel solid, grounded, deliberate. They signal that the space was thought through. And once you notice that difference, it's very hard to go back. Now, let's take that one step further into cookware. Because this is where your kitchen starts to develop presence. A simple cast iron skillet already shifts the tone. It holds heat better, it looks better, and over time, it actually improves. It becomes part of your kitchen, not just something you use. Then you move into pieces like a Dutch oven, something substantial, something that feels like it belongs out, not hidden away. Minimal, quiet, intentional. But here's where it really changes. Copper. Copper reflects light differently. It warms up the entire space without you changing anything else. And suddenly, the kitchen feels elevated without trying too hard. At that point, you're not just cooking. You're using pieces that feel like they were made to last. Now here's something even more subtle, but just as powerful. Materials. Even the smallest materials in your kitchen send signals. Take something as simple as salt. Most people keep it hidden or leave it in packaging that feels generic. But when it's presented intentionally, when the texture is visible, when it actually looks like it belongs there, it elevates everything around it. And here's the deeper shift. It's not about the object, it's about what it communicates. The same applies to stainless steel. Clean, reflective, timeless. It signals precision without trying too hard. And that's the pattern you start seeing here. Nothing is loud, nothing is overdone, but everything feels considered. Now here's the part most people get wrong, and it's usually why the kitchen still feels unfinished. The wall behind your counter. When it's blank, it flattens the entire space. Even if everything else is done right, It creates this subtle emptiness that makes the kitchen feel incomplete. The moment you add a backsplash, everything locks in. The space gains structure, it gains depth. It starts to feel finished. And here's what surprises most people. Even a simple version works. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to exist. Because once it's there, you realize how much was missing before. Now let's talk about what quietly ruins everything. Even when you've done everything else right, small details. And the biggest one? Cords. Cords create visual noise. Even when everything else is clean, they pull your attention. They break the flow of the space, and they make the kitchen feel less intentional. But once you organize them, something shifts immediately. The counters feel cleaner. The space feels calmer, more controlled, more finished. It's one of those changes you don't consciously notice, but you feel it right away. And if you only change one thing after this, make it something intentional that stays visible, because a single well-designed object can anchor the entire space. Something simple, like a kettle with clean lines. Nothing flashy, nothing over-designed, just balanced, intentional, and placed where it makes sense. It becomes a focal point without trying to be one, and it quietly pulls everything together. And that's what all of this comes down to. This isn't about spending more, it's not about chasing trends, it's about small, intentional upgrades that layer over time. Because once you get a few of these right, your kitchen doesn't just look better, it feels different. It feels calmer, more considered, and without a full renovation, it starts to feel expensive.